There are 3 levels of differences in marriage. That's what I'm about to say, because this will heal you. There is rejected differences, number 1. Number 2 is tolerated differences. Number 3 is celebrated differences. You only heal at level 3. This session is called The Healing Journey of Marriage. Now, it took me 10 months to put this message together. This messed with me. This message messed with my mind more than any message I've ever put together in my entire life. And the Lord began to speak to me about this, and I began to kind of, put it together. And I want to bring this in a manner that simplifies it. I don't want you to get, messed up over it. I want this to be simple for you. But the healing journey of marriage is like an oxymoron. An oxymoron is like a self-contradictory statement. And the healing journey of marriage for many people, they have been more damaged by marriage than anything in their life. They grew up in a bad home. They've had a bad marriage before, and marriage has damaged them more than anything else in life. But I want to say this: God created marriage to heal us. And this message will explain to you how marriage heals. Now, Karen and I got married, damaged each other, so we've been there, done that. But we healed each other. God has used Karen to heal me more than any other person in my life, and I've done the same thing with Karen. And so here's the premise of this message. We seek marriage for many reasons, but one of the most important is that we are all incomplete and unhealed, and we're seeking a spouse to fix that. We're incomplete and we're unhealed, and we're trying to find somebody to fix that. If we do it God's way, we end up in a beautiful marriage. If we don't, we drive each other crazy. And we wound each other even more. And this is the way that Karen and I were. We fell in love, we dated. We went through the romantic phase of our relationship where we fell in love and dated like most people, and then we began to fight. Once the performance phase of the relationship was over, and performance just means we're trying to impress each other, we're trying to get each other to like each other. Once that phase was over, we began to fight. We had 3 major fights in our dating and early marriage time that any one of them could have ended our relationship. The first one is what I call the meatloaf fight. I golfed a lot. I golfed all the time. I was in college, and Karen and I were dating. And Karen worked at a bank, and she lived in a little duplex. And she said, Jimmy, I want to fix you dinner. I want you to come over Friday night. And I want you to come over at 7 o'clock on Friday night. I'm going to fix you dinner. And I said, great. That's awesome. Great. So Karen's a great cook. And so I was out golfing with my friends, and we were on a golf course about 30 miles from where Karen's house was. And I'm looking down at my watch. It was 6 o'clock. I told her I'd be there at 6 o'clock. So I look down at my watch, and it's 5:30, and we're on hole number 16. And I'm 30 miles away. Now, a smart person would have grabbed his golf clubs, ran to the car, and drove as fast as I could to her house. But I was not a smart person. So I finished golfing, and I drove to her house, and I was 45 minutes an hour late. And I walk in, and I can tell she's upset. And I'm just cocky, arrogant, idiot. And I walk in, and she's cool, and the food she has in the oven, she's warming it up. And I walk in, and I'm just Mr. Cool, and I come in, and she's mad. And finally I turned to her, and I said, we sat down to eat. It was a beautiful meal. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green, everything. It's everything I love right there on the plate. And I sat down to eat, and I looked up at her, and I said, what's your problem? The next thing I knew, I was wearing dinner. Okay, let me say this. Let me say this. The part that hit my mouth was delicious. She threw dinner on me. So she, boom, right in my face. So I had her blocked in the driveway, and she had a little Volkswagen Beetle, a little red Volkswagen Beetle, and she got in her car and drove through the backyard, knocked the fence down, drove through a clothesline, drove all the way, and there was no alley. She drove through the neighbor's yard. Sister was mad, to say the least. So that was our first fight. Big fight. So I kind of got myself out of that one. But Then the bachelor party fight, the week before we got married. And I was unsaved. I was not saved. I was not a good person. And I was immoral, and I partied a lot, and that was why I lived, you know. Karen didn't know most of what I did, and I didn't want her to. But at my bachelor party, I did some really bad stuff, and stuff that even bothered me. And Karen's parents hated me, and her mom, they hated me. And her mom had a Bible study praying that we wouldn't get married. It's the truth. And here, let me tell you the other part of it. We would have Marriage Today events in Amarillo, and all those women were coming to serve at our Marriage Day events. And I would just look at them and I would tell them, you're the worst prayers in the history of the world. Could anybody pray worse than y'all pray? But I believe the reason that I got saved is because of those women. So after the morning after the bachelor party, woke up, and that's when I received Christ. And I didn't receive Christ because Karen told me she wouldn't marry me, because she told me she wouldn't marry me. I received Christ because sin lied to me. I sinned a lot. And I was emptier afterwards than I was before. But I have never felt that way about Jesus Christ. He came into my heart 44 years ago, and he has been marvelous to me. And he filled my heart. So Karen went ahead and married me. You know, I've said bye to all my friends and changed. And we went ahead and got married a week later and got married. Had a, bad first few years. We were saved, but I was a bad husband. Still golfed a lot. And finally I told her to get out of the house, and you know that story. And so we had several huge fights. See, any one of them could have ended our marriage, but we began to heal each other after the third fight. And I told you the story about, I went to the living room and prayed, Holy Spirit, teach me how to be a husband, and how the scales fell from my eyes and all of that. So let me talk about God's sovereign purpose in marriage. And let me say this that way I have it written down here. Why God tricks us into falling in love with someone who can drive us so crazy, and why they drive us so crazy, and how we can stop being driven so crazy and be healed. When we're dating, God is doing so much more than we even realize. On a conscious level, here's what research proves. Most of the reason that we marry our spouse is subconscious, not conscious. Okay. So consciously, we're looking at attractiveness, personality, enjoyment, ease of relationship, desire, feelings of love and passion, commonality, compatibility, all of those things. But that's the tip of the iceberg. It's like an iceberg. You see the tip of the iceberg, but then the mass of the iceberg is under the water. Did you know that when you're dating, what you see and what you're attracted to is the least of why you actually marry that person? It matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. But most of the reason that you're actually going to end up marrying a person is in the subconscious realm. And what it basically means is, let me say it another way. So we're saying, God, I want to marry the right person, bring me the right person. God is doing so much more than we think. And here's what it means. He loves you more than you think, and he's working for you harder than you think. And what God is trying to do is to lead us to make the right decision that we would never make in the conscious realm. Most of us would never make that decision. So God has to kind of supernaturally, get us to make a decision in the subconscious realm, knowing that consciously we would make this decision. Let me give you two examples. Here are two sovereign subconscious decisions that we make when we choose a spouse that we don't realize that we're making. But we need to realize it. The reason that we do so much damage to each other is we don't realize that we did two things. Here's the first sovereign subconscious decision that we're making when we marry. To find my compatible opposite. What I'm actually looking for. See, most people when they're getting married or they're dating, they'll say, I want to find someone just like me. I want to find someone just like me. Did you know subconsciously you're looking for your opposite? It's the truth. Genesis 2:18, the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. The word helper is the word Ezer in the Hebrew. It means supply what's lacking. You're not looking for a you. You're looking for someone to complete you. An Ezer. You're looking for an Ezer. You're going to find, it's like Karen and me. I was so attracted to Karen. We got married. You saw our strengths here. Couldn't be more opposite. Aren't we a fantastic team? But I didn't know I was looking for someone. And she drove me crazy. I drove her crazy. because we didn't realize. Listen to me. Compatibility isn't based on sameness. It's based on shared value, faith, and character. Compatibility, there is this misconception that says compatibility is based on sameness. I know many of you met online. That's great. I have no judgment of that whatsoever. That's great if that's the way you met. But here's the problem. You go online and they have all these categories that you match in. You can match any category you want. You're going to marry your opposite. And I really think part of the shocker is you go online, you marry someone you think is exactly like you, and you wake up one day and say, I want my money back. I had no idea they would be this different. You're going to marry someone different. You need to marry someone different. You don't need another you. The last thing you need is a mini me. You need somebody different. You were programmed by God to find your compatible opposite. Someone that shared the basic goals that you have, the basic faith that you have, the basic character that you have, but someone who is an aider, supplying what you were lacking. That's what you need. You have areas. That are lacking. But Adam rejected Eve. The first couple, he turned and rejected Eve. And that's, I rejected Karen. And so many of us fight and reject each other because we don't realize we actually accomplished the mission. God actually brought us the person we were praying for. And they are our aider. They're going to supply to us what's lacking. But we reject them because they're opposite from us. They're so different. Let me say, Karen and I are so different in so many areas. Let me give you one of the things that still is an issue to this day. Karen is hot-natured and I'm cold-natured. Oh, this sister's hot-natured. I married her because she was hot, but I didn't realize that. I'm cold-natured. I'm cold. I like a warm house. I love hot weather. I love playing golf in 100-degree weather. I feel better. I love it. I love to sweat. I love to be hot. What troubles me is that was a man. I think he understands. Karen is so hot-natured. I mean, we fight about this. One day I went and looked. I was cold. One day I went and looked at the thermostat. It was on 58. Now, everybody walks in our house, tells us how cold it is. And Brent and Stephanie walk in. It's cold. It's always cold. It's always cold in the house. get upset, my voice goes up. Let's go. So, sister is hot-natured. And so one day she goes to the grocery store and I'm cold. And I'm trying to work him office at home. And I go and look, the thermostat's 58 and I got mad. I just got mad. And I went and turned the thermostat up to 70 and lit the fireplace. And I knew what was going to happen when she got home. So she comes in, oh my gosh, it's hot in this. I kill again. I said, don't you touch that thing. It's still an issue this day. Now, Karen says to me, well, if anything ever happened to me, I know you would remarry. You know, I wouldn't remarry, but I know you would remarry. You need somebody to take care of you. I don't think about that, except I'll say this. God forbid anything ever happened to Karen. But if I did ever date, my pickup line would be, is it warm in here to you? And if she says yes, check please. Her number one strength, empathy, my number 34. My number one strength is achiever, her number 34. She loves romantic movies. Karen just loves to listen to people talk for a long time. When she picks out a movie, it's just talking. I'm like, Alan, give me an action movie. I watch baseball, football, golf. I want action like that. I don't like those movies. Karen loves one-on-one. One-on-one. I like big crowds. I love crowds like this. I love it. Karen does not like change. She thrives on consistency. She does the same thing every day. I thrive on change. I'm ADD. D. So early in our marriage, we rejected each other and judged each other, but the healing journey of marriage began when we realized that we were different by God's design and that we were there to complement each other. Let me say this, okay? There are 3 levels of differences in marriage. That's what I'm about to say, because this will heal you. There is rejected differences, number 1. Number 2 is tolerated differences. Number 3 is celebrated differences. You only heal at level 3. Rejected differences. You're so weird. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And we judge each other and shame each other. It's the natural thing that we do because we think we made a mistake. We were looking for someone like us, but we were wired by God to find someone who's different.